Hi, good morning. It's Christy from crystalknitsandpearls.com, and I'm here with my knitting and reading notes for last week, so the week ending May the 17th. I have one finished object, which is my FSU shorty sock. This is for me. So yeah, this is sock number one. I have to make sock number two. I have not cast on sock number two yet, but I will. And that is it. That is the only finished object I have from last week. The yarn that I use for that is Unicorn Solid, and it is in the colorways of called Burgundy and Mustard. I just did a vanilla sock pattern. I used my 9-inch bamboo circulars for this particular sock. I did I think like a 10 round cuff, so a real short, maybe like a 15 round leg, normal, heel, gusset pickup type deal. I did a 70-ish round foot for me, and the toe just, decreases and Kitchenered it. I did try it on, and I would say if I make another pair, I will probably make this cuff a smidge longer for myself. It's a real shorty. So I may do a longer cuff, maybe a longer leg. I don't know. I like a shorty, but it doesn't look that short, but when I get it on, it's definitely shorter than I probably would have chosen to knit it if I had known. So anyways, I will get sock number two on the needles coming shortly. One of my first works in progress is my daughter's hurricane blanket. It's a pink and white colorway. It's called Pink Coral. It is in the car in my knitting bag that I have from last night's tournament district championship game that two of my daughters out of the three won, so they are district champs. But I did not drag it in, but I did show it last week and probably the week before that. I'm just some people asked about the pattern for it because they're like, oh, I love it. I don't have a pattern. I just cast on, I think, about 230 stitches, and I am just knitting the entire blanket. I didn't do any kind of a fancy pants pattern on it. I feel like when the colorways have, if it's variegated or it has like striping or color changing, I feel like a pattern gets lost in that. So I tend to do real vanilla stuff with that. Yeah, so it's just a plain Jane knit. It's just a straight knit. I am using my circulars, my Chalgu circular needles, but I am knitting flat. Obviously, it's a blanket. I am using hurricane yarn for that, and again, the colorway is Pink Coral. I will show you a photo of my pretty blanket, but I did not bring it in. And my one of my other projects, I see it sitting on the other side of the table, so I'm going to have to show you a photo of that one too. But another work in progress is my first sweater. I have been working on the first sleeve of the sweater. It's turning out marvelous. I probably have about another 35 rounds before I switch to the next part of the sleeve, but it's going pretty good. I mostly knit it when I'm sitting in my room. I kind of have projects around the house, so wherever I'm sitting at the time, I grab that project, and that sits in my room. So at night when I'm getting ready to get into bed and watching a little TV or whatever, I might knit a little bit on that. So I've knit about 37-ish rounds, I guess, on that. And I estimate I have to knit about a total of 50 to get to the 7 inches that it has to be before I switch to the next part of the sleeve. I am using the Lion brand Pound of Love yarn. and I love it. It's very squishy and soft, and it's a pretty color. I wanted something kind of neutral for my first sweater, and the colorway is called Sugar Cookie, so it definitely looks a lot like a sugar cookie. And I'm using my Chago Red Twist interchangeable needles. I am using a size 6 and a size 4, depending on where I am in the sweater. Right now I'm using, for the sleeve, I bought a fixed circular, so it is a 16-inch circular US size 6 to do the sleeve, because I did not have a cord short enough for my size 6 interchangeable needles. So I said, I'm just gonna buy a fixed circular, and it's working out perfectly. So I even thought about buying 2 so that I could do both sleeves at the same time, but I was like, let's not get crazy, Christy. Let's just let's just do one sleeve at a time. This is my first sweater, and let's not get all crazy. So the other work in progress I have is my Bible sweater. I happen to have my Bible here to show you how it's peeling. So it's very peely. And I use it every day to study in the morning. So yeah, it's a mess. It's a hot mess. So I want to contain this. So I have been knitting what I call a Bible sweater. It's just a book cover, essentially. And here is what it looks like. Oh no. The sun coming in is making it terrible. Okay. Well, I showed it last week, but it's in a sea glass color. The yarn is from a local Florida yarn dyer, and it's part of a Beach Reads series. So I think there's 4 or 5 different colorways that's part of that series, and this is the sea glass colorway. There, maybe you can see it a little bit better. I don't know how to make it so you can see it, but it's someone also asked about that pattern, and again, I do not have a pattern. I measured my Bible. I'll show you how I did it so you can figure it out for yourself. So I measured where I wanted it to land, the flap to fold over essentially with the yarn. So I want it to be maybe about right here so that I can slide it in or glue it on. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. And then I measured all the way around to where I want it to be on the flap of the other side of the Bible. Then I knit, just straight knit with that yarn. I started the knitting of the Bible and like a swatch, I guess. But I really didn't knit a swatch. I kind of did it as if I was starting the actual project. And then I measured how many stitches I get in an inch so that I know, okay, I have to cast on that number of stitches to get to, and I can't remember, I feel like it was I get, 10 stitches in an inch, and I needed 170 inches all the way around, and so then I just divided 10 into 170, and then I know how many stitches I need to cast on. Hopefully that made some sort of sense, but that is essentially how I did it. I am knitting flat, but I am using my circulars. I think it's a US 2. Yeah, US 2. I'm knitting flat. On the right side, I am straight knitting all the way across all of those stitches. I forget how many stitches are on there, but knitting all those stitches. Then when I turn my work on the wrong side, I am purling all those stitches. I like the way that looks on the right side, so that is just the pattern that I chose. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. There are patterns out there, not a lot, but there are for book covers, journal covers, whatever you want to call it. So you can do that. I'm using a fingering weight. So most of the patterns were not fingering weight. I forget if they were DK or bulky or what they were, but definitely not fingering weight. So that is why I had to do it the way that I was doing. I just had to measure and then figure out how many stitches I get in an inch and how many total inches, I needed it to be. I suspect, but don't know yet, it's probably going to be wider than I needed, but it's okay because there was plenty of space left over. I think I measured to right about here. So, all this space is left in case it's too long. I may sew it so that it creates like a flap that you just slide the cover into. I may just glue it on here. I haven't decided yet. Since I probably wouldn't take it off, I don't know any reason why I might need to just do the sewing of the flap, and I'm not crazy about seaming stuff, so we shall see. But this is like a pleathery material, and I have fabric glue that I use for my pouch covers, so I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work as equally well on something like this. So you could do it for like a journal like this. I mean, you could really do it up depending how you want to do it. This is a notebook. I mean, you could do it for something like this if you wanted to create. You see where my Bible is peeling right onto my notebook. So yeah, I mean, you can do it for different sizes, different widths. Again, you can just make it up because you can just measure what size you need. So easy peasy. Okay, this is another whip. This is sock number 2 for my daughter's red and blue striped sock. I have finished the cuff in blue, and I am getting ready to do the first stripe of the leg in this red. You may remember sock 2 will be kind of like the inverse of sock 1. So sock 1 had red cuff, red heel, red toes, and then it had the blue and red stripes. So this is going to be blue cuff, blue heel, blue toe, and then it'll have the blue and red stripes. Twofold reason. Twofold. First, I think I'm gonna run out of this if I try to do everything in red. So, cuff, heel, and toe in red. I'm gonna run out of it. I'm almost positive. Second, my daughter's favorite color is blue. So it makes sense. And I asked her, hey, do you care if sock 1, has a red cuff, heel, and toe, and the other has a blue, and then it still has the blue and red? She said, I absolutely do not care. So here we are. So that yarn is a mystery yarn. I do not know what yarn it is. It feels a little DK-ish. I did not do wraps and measure and any of that kind of stuff. I think I had it for a cowl pattern, but I don't know. So I have no idea. The red and the blue were together. They feel the same, so I think it's the same yarn in different colorways. And, we're just going with it. So it'll be fine. If I don't know what a yarn is and I want to use it for a sock, a lot of times I will knit up a piece of a sock and then wash it and see how it does, just to make sure. I did not do that this time, I will admit. I found, if you've been around for a little while, you probably know I do some DK weight mystery shorty socks for my girls' uniforms for school, and that's what I did with that. I have no idea what kind of yarn that is, but I knitted the cuff and a little bit of the leg. I put it in the wash, dried it flat like I do my socks. I usually put them in a little mesh bag, like a little lingerie bag type thing. And it was fine, perfectly fine. So they have several sets of those socks that they can wear with their uniforms to school. So yes, so I normally do that when I don't know what it is. I did not do that this time. Okay, So moving right along. That's just going to be a vanilla stripe sock. This one, however, is going to be Hermione's everyday sock. So this is sock number 1. This is unicorn solid in mustard. I am using my ChowGoo red 9-inch circulars, and super excited. I haven't done a pattern sock in a while, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. I like the thought of the solid color with the pattern. Like I was saying, if it's like I don't have one here, but if it's like a variegated yarn, or there's a lot of color switching or pooling and all that, the patterns really get lost in those. If it's mostly one color and then there's not a huge pattern to the colorway, then it's okay for me. This is for me. I mean, I see people do it all the time with variegated, but I feel like it gets lost. The pattern gets lost. So something like this, where it's really just a solid color, it's gonna look awesome, and I'm really excited to see how that turns out. Okay, so that's all the projects that I either finished or have on my needles that I worked on last week. I have other projects that I haven't touched and didn't bring out. Reading, I read Too Old for This, The Astral Library. Both of those I gave 4 stars. The Woman in Suite 11, I'm Not the Only Murderer, In My Retirement Home, and An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good, and finally, You Deserve to Know. I gave those all 3 stars, and I finished yesterday, but this was on I'm currently reading the book called Molka, which is a Korean, I think a Korean author and a Korean-based book. Like the setting is in Korea. And Molka, apparently the translation for that is those little tiny secret cameras that people install. I will say this about the book. It is very disturbing because it is about how people install these cameras to like spy on people, right? In the women's restroom or in hotel rooms or, whatever. So it's very disturbing in that manner. And it's very, a little violent in some parts and very sexual in some parts. So if that doesn't bother you, it's overall, I liked it. It was a good book. But, if any of those kind of topics bother you, you might want to skip it. But, it was a good book. I did finish it. I'm actually currently reading, what is the name of this book? It's called Such a Clever Girl. And it's by an author I haven't read before, but so far it's pretty good. It's a little reminiscent of I don't know. It seems like it might have some twists and turns to it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that one. But that is all for last week. So until next week, happy knitting.